On today's episode of the Unwritten Rule, we've got a big show for everybody. We're going to start with awards. We'll get through those quickly. And then we have a super awesome interview with Gabe Dearmond, of course, the publisher for Powermizzou. He's going to come on. We talked National Signing Day, all the stuff that happened yesterday. The transfers as well. The Darris Smith transfer from Georgia, Corey Flagg from Miami just happening on Thursday when we're recording. And then we also previewed Braggin Rights with Gabe. We also talked about the Cotton Bowl, but we're going to save that part of the interview for next week. So we'll drop that for you guys next week when it's a little bit closer to the game. But we talked about that with Gabe as well. And then we finished up with quick hits, fun little quick hits. You know, we had our jerseys of the week, Fantastic Four picks, Sean East Birds, best things we learned, all that fun stuff. So great show. Super excited to talk to Gabe and get to speak with him about his especially being in the weeds with all of the recruiting stuff with National Signing Day. So it's a great interview with him. So yeah, great show for you guys. Before we get started, quick word from our friends at Bet Online. Did you guys know the only people who don't get time off this year are pro athletes at the Christmas season? Oh, and the people at Bet Online, because with NFL bowl season and NBA in full swing over the holidays, Bet Online isn't taking a second off to make sure you have all the up to second news, odds, and info. BetOnline has all the sports wagering info you need on both desktop and mobile access. So head there today and get into the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, BELIEVE, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. And with that, the Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, December 22nd, and we have more awards. We're going to get to Gabe in a second. We're going to talk about all the real big news with Gabe, so we're going to blast through these awards, and then we'll get to the interview. I will read through them as quickly as possible. Eli Drinkwitz named one of the 5 finalists for the Dodd Trophy, and then Luther Burden, second team All-America by the Action Network. Great tweet from Mizzou Football, LB3, all about that action. Winking emoji. I thought that was good. And then our personal favorite for this show, PFF, Max, friend of the show, released their All-America team, Javon Foster, Luther Burden, and Chris Abrams-Drain, second team. So thank you to Max, 3 Mizzou Tigers, Max All-Americans certified awards.
Yeah, did you know that Luther Burden, Chris Abrams-Drain, and Javon Foster are very good? Did you know that Eli Drinkwitz won 10 games this year? That's it.
I think
Well
we should
said.
make our own All-America team.
Oh my
the
God,
Believe
no.
All-America team, and it's just Mizzou starting 11 on both sides.
Yeah.
We don't take any votes from anyone else.
It's like in the
We'll put that
NBA
out
when
there.
yeah, it's like in the NBA when you put your all-star ballot, but it's like a clearly a homer, so it's just the starting 5 of one team.
The Kansas City Royals, like in 2013, 2014,
14,
all those
yeah.
years, 14, 15.
It's like
Exactly.
half their roster. Yeah, we'll do
Exactly.
that. Maybe I'll make a graphic and we'll put that out. But there you go.
Omar Infante was literally starting over Jose Altuve at second base that year. That would be pretty much having, like, I don't know, Joseph Charleston on. Like, Joseph Charleston is good. He's not an All-American.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll make a graphic. With that, we won't beat around the bush anymore. I will we'll kick it to ourselves talking to Gabe. We had a great interview with him, previewing Bragging Rights, and we talked recruiting with him, of course, because National Signing Day came on Wednesday. Before we do that, though, I forgot to mention in the intro, subscribe to the YouTube. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed. If you're watching on the YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening, give us a review on Spotify. We have 7 total reviews. They're all 5 stars, so I expect that to double before the new year. Those may or may not be some of us reviewing it, but I expect it to double. And if you're watching on the YouTube, please go subscribe, comment stuff under the YouTube. We'll respond. Anyway, with that, we'll kick it to ourselves. We talked to Gabe Dearmond, Powermizzou'S publisher, previewed Braggin Rights, and talked signing day. Got his take on Mizzou having a great signing day. So good interview with him. We'll kick it to ourselves. Okay, we now welcome on a very, very special guest. We're completing the trifecta of the three individuals who are most on the beat for Power Mizzou. We've got Gabe Dearmond, the longest tenured member, shall we say, of Power Mizzou. But Gabe, thank you so much for joining us. We got a ton to talk about. I know you've been busy, especially with National Signing Day these last few days. So I will start kind of there. A little bit of a more general question, but is this the best time right now to be on Mizzou Twitter? Because I know like even you've been having some fun with like the waiting for announcements stuff that was happening the last couple days. And, there's been all sorts of Mizzou fans going after Oklahoma people getting exposed for wrongly reviewing Cayden Green's dad's restaurant, all sorts of wild stuff. But it's obviously with the success Mizzou's having in recruiting, it's a pretty good time to be on the interweb if you're a Mizzou fan right now.
Is it too much of an old man answer to say there is no good time to be on Mizzou Twitter?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Because look, I like Twitter I use it for a news feed as a social interaction among college sports fans. It is a walking hellscape every day, and that applies to every fan base.
Yep.
And every fan base does stupid things, and then every other fan base points out the stupid things they do as if that fan base does not do the exact same stupid things when the decisions go the other way.
Right.
And as somebody who, like, I don't care if anybody follows my tweets or likes my tweets because I don't make any money off of it. I only want them to go to my website. I have been waiting for the day that Twitter goes fully premium and I can stop using it, but that never happened.
Fair enough. That's what we were saying too. We were joking. We were like, Twitter, if you're not using it to report, is just don't have it. Like that's
well, in all seriousness, like the Cayden Green stuff is with his.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Like, yeah. It's not even to me like funny to joke about. What are we doing? These are people's lives. You're talking about a football game, and. I've never understood any of it. Hey, sometimes the kids go to schools you don't root for, and that's okay too. You don't get to tell them where to go.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, we talked about separating it from family and what the kid's decision is. At the end of the day, the family has nothing to do with it, and you can't go after and attack these kids. And one thing we mentioned was like Jamal Adams, who posted that photo of like a reporter's wife and made fun of him, and it's just that kind of stuff you just can't do, and it's going both ways sometimes.
When you are a professional athlete, I'm not going to say it's okay, but at least you get paid millions of dollars. And I know the argument is some of these kids now get paid hundreds and thousands or millions of dollars, but I don't know. I can't put myself in the mental space where I think, this is probably something I should do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so getting on the track for this, National Signing Day started. The early period started yesterday. Mizzou signed 20 guys for the class of 2024. I mean, were there any surprises to you? It really felt like a drama-free day for the Tigers.
Well, not completely drama-free because it did involve Ryan Wingo for a few hours. But yeah, everything that we thought was going to happen happened, and that's generally good. Nothing that we thought was going to happen didn't happen. They signed the 20 guys we thought they were going to sign going in. Picked up a transfer along the way at some point yesterday. Every day is the same to me. I don't know what time anything happened lately, but got Darris Smith, got another one Thursday morning. So it's all been going fairly smoothly and pretty well. I think I looked this morning and Missouri's up to number 17 in our class rankings. So, up there with, I know one of Eli's classes recently was number 13. I forget exactly which one it was, but that was the best in school history. This would be the second best as of right now.
Right. And you mentioned like, it's just pretty much every day that we're getting new recruiting news. I mean, even the coordinators just got extended. Well, what is next? What players should Mizzou fans kind of be looking out for, either in the portal or in the high school ranks?
Yeah, the only thing in the next week and a half is we're kind of waiting on a decision from Chris McClellan, who's a defensive tackle who transferred from Florida, Oklahoma, Missouri, Colorado. I've heard Arizona State a little bit. I think this is an Oklahoma, Missouri thing. A decision could come. Chris got back to Tulsa, where he's from, I believe, on Thursday. I'm not sure when people are listening to this, but could come at any time, could come by the time people are listening to this. Missouri could have another transfer, or he could have gone somewhere else. But that's really it for until after New Year's, because another window opens up where transfers can visit January 3rd through 7th, and we'll have some stuff there. There are 2 high school kids out there, Trajan Greco, who, tweeted yesterday, hey, I've signed, but I'm not going to tell you where until January 6th, which is the Army All-American game. I'll just say Missouri's certainly involved there. And then a kid named Jamarian Burnett, who's a high school running back who it seemed like for a long time would commit to Missouri and sign yesterday. That didn't happen. I think Missouri is kind of seeing what else is out there in the portal, and I think kind of waiting and seeing before going ahead and locking Burnett in. I'm not sure what other options he has at this point. Now, certainly because Missouri might have said, hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit, he may very well say, cool, I'm going to look around. Like this isn't what I wanted to do, so I'm gonna see what else there is out there. But those are really those are the 3 guys we're looking at before, the next wave of who's in the portal after all these bowl games are played. By the way, who's in the portal from Missouri after their bowl games played?
Yeah, good point. I do want to ask you about some of those portal guys that Mizzou has brought in. Obviously, it started kind of with Toriano Pride, of course, Cayden Green. It's been a really successful kind of window for them so far. Just what's your take? What have you heard about how excited they are about some of these guys? And just what are you looking for kind of from them, especially with Smith and even Corey Flagg coming in just today, these 2 new additions?
Yeah, Toriano and Cayden Green were kids that they've really chased out of high school and probably finished second for both of them. Toriano plays last year at East St. Louis with Luther Burden and Miles McVay and others, went to Clemson for a couple years. Interesting position there because Ennis Rakestraw and Chris Abrams-Drain both could come back. I'm not sure either is expected to come back. I've heard varying things on that. I think there's a better chance KAD is back than there is Ennis, but I think Missouri is operating as if neither one of them will be back, and Toriano would step in to he's got to come win it, but expected to be a starter. Cayden Green, I think, will be the starting left tackle to replace Javon Foster, which I think, along with cornerback, is the biggest hole on this team. And I know people say Cody Schrader, and obviously big shoes to fill, but running back's a little bit different. They've got Marcus Carroll, the 7th leading rusher in the country last year, coming in to fill that spot. Darris Smith, you mentioned, from Georgia, just a kid that I've never understood in recruiting why all these highly rated kids keep going to the same 7 places. Like, would you rather go compete for playing time with 6 other 4-star kids, or would you rather go to one of the 87 schools that doesn't have 6 other 4-star kids, and maybe you won't win a ring, but you'll actually be on the field, And I think that's kind of what happened to Darris Smith at Georgia. Is just there were a lot of other guys, and he got a little crosswise with the coaching staff and hit the portal. He visited last weekend, and then Corey Flagg, linebacker from Miami, visited on that big transfer weekend last weekend, and he was actually recruited and coached at Miami his first year by Blake Baker, who, like you guys said, just signed a contract extension. So that was like target number 1 for Missouri at linebacker from the beginning. And really, that's the key. They're getting guys that they prioritize, that they brought in early, right? If you're missing on a bunch of those guys and you're getting into January and then the spring portal, they might be guys that were a little lower on your list, but they're getting A-list guys. So, I don't know if they're good, bad, or indifferent, but that's up to the coaches to decide, not me.
Yeah. I just a quick follow-up to it, with Carroll, I know you said, and I agree with you, I think with corner and left tackle, I think that was vital they filled those needs. Do you expect or maybe predict them to go after anybody else in the portal at running back, or is Carroll and then Lacey kind of it?
I think they'll look at another running back. They want, I think, 2 defensive tackles, 1 or 2 defensive ends. Probably another offensive lineman. So I guess that would bring the total to like 11, which is, I've been saying for weeks, 10 to 12 is probably how many they're going to take. So I think those are the positions they'll look at. And again, depends on what the numbers are. I mean, if they suddenly have somebody that they don't think is going to leave, then you might have to go get another.
Sure.
And talking about that defensive tackle position as well, you mentioning, still waiting on that decision from Chris McClellan. But if they don't go after a defensive tackle, do you feel like they're in, a good spot still, or do you think they really need someone to come in again?
No, they really need. I mean, Realist George is gone. Josh Landry's gone. Jay Jernigan is gone. So they've got Christian Williams. It hasn't announced it yet, but we have reported I fully expect Christian Williams to come back for another year. But you've got him, and then, you've got Kai Montgomery for now, who's never gotten on the field, whether it's health or just hadn't been able to. You've got Marquise Gracial, who I think played 3 snaps this year, and you've got Jalen Marshall, who hasn't been on the field. No, they are absolutely not okay at that position. If they don't, if it's not McClellan, they're still going to go get 1 or 2 somebodies.
And then we touched on it a few times already. I mean, Mizzou obviously extending both their offensive and defensive coordinators. Kirby Moore was linked to the Notre Dame offensive coordinator job. So, I mean, Drink said a while ago he wanted to prevent lateral moves for the coordinators. I mean, how big is it for them to kind of be able to get both of these guys in the room for another year?
Well, I think it's important for continuity. And look, Missouri's clearly, let's push everything to the middle of the table for 2024 and make this play. And part of that is, hey, we want Brady Cook to run the same system with the same guys and all that. And now I would warn, this is college sports. We don't have terms of the contract while we're recording this. We'll see what it is. We should get those, I think, later today. But contracts don't really mean that much. I mean, if somebody really wants to hire Kirby Moore or Blake Baker, they probably can. They will now have to spend more money, But I would just warn people that, yes, they signed extensions, and I think they'll be here next year. But I don't know that this is necessarily a guarantee because, I mean, we see weird things happen all the time, right? And some of them, you mentioned Notre Dame. I think they've got another target probably in mind. But, like, I know from conversations, Blake and Kirby both had interviews for head coaching jobs this offseason. Neither one got it, obviously, or they would be gone. But they both were looked at, and I think this is a sign they'll both be back. I just don't want to say it's a 100% guarantee they'll both be back because I've seen too many things in this. I mean, you've got, yesterday was the early signing day, and you got coaches taking new jobs this morning. So
yeah, it moves quick. My only other question on recruiting is just kind of your general thoughts on how well, we mentioned the Wingo situation, some drama reemerging with there yesterday. But just your take on how, Drink and company kind of responded after all of that went down. Like on this show, we coined it. He was kind of almost rage recruiting and just going after a ton of guys after that Wingo domino didn't fall for them. And just what's your take on that and how they've been able to turn around and get a top 25 recruiting class?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to miss guys. They missed Jeremiah McClellan. They actually, the oddity is that if you go by rankings, they really didn't do very well in the state of Missouri this year. They missed on a lot of guys in the state. But what they did that previous Missouri staffs haven't been able to do is they went out of state and replaced them with comparable talent. Kawan Lacey, guys like that don't come to Missouri from out of state in the past, And Elias Williams and Jalen Brown are defensive ends who, other SEC schools made runs at in the last couple of weeks and couldn't get them. Everybody knows about Will Winery. I mean, number 1, number 3, however you slice it, player in the country. He's the crown jewel and all that. But I mean, I've never heard a coach stand up on signing day and say, we did okay. Like, this guy, I don't like him that much. Kind of missed in some positions. Just had to take this kid because we missed on the guy we really wanted. So we'll see. Like the 2021 class that it was. So people were so excited about it. There's like 3 guys left from that class. Yeah. But now the transfer portal, they've replaced most of those guys. And it's not like they're going elsewhere other than Mekhi Wingo and Dominic Lovett and lighting it up or playing somewhere significant. So I understand why we have rankings, but and you want to do well in them. Barry Odom always said, hey, if they keep scoring something, I want to win it.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. But you just can't completely judge a recruiting class here. Let's see who's here. And what we've learned now, and I'm not saying this specific to Ryan Wingo, but we've learned this with Toriano Pride and Cayden Green. Hey, you didn't get him this time. Doesn't mean he's never going to play here.
Yeah, that's definitely a theme, and I like your take on that too. That sometimes it's just a crapshoot. I mean, you could have one of the 3 stars outperform, some of these guys that are higher ranked. It's just about how they do when they get on campus.
Recruiting rankings do not matter individually. They do not matter. Now, look, Williams Nwaneri, when you're ranked where he's ranked, he's probably not going to be a bust. It's possible, but it is very small chance.
Yeah.
But on the larger scale, they do matter. I mean, because you're not going to recruit in the 40s and 50s and win meaningful things in the SEC. It's legitimately never happened. So you don't have to be number 1 or number 6 or whatever, but you've got to be in the fight with some of these other teams.
Definitely.
I kind of had a follow-up kind of to that kind of stuff, seeing guys jump and hit the transfer portal pretty quick, and a guy like Abari Johnson comes to mind. But this year, it really felt like Drinkwitz and a lot of the staff got a lot of freshmen more involved. And I don't know if that was just based on need. You look at the wide receiver core, like Marquise Johnson getting involved more in that. Do you feel like there was more of like a change there, that they were trying to get a lot of guys more involved, to try to find them a role early on so they wouldn't really jump in the portal early when you look back at that 2021 class?
I don't think you can coach that way. I think you play the guys who deserve to play. I mean, Marquise Johnson got more opportunities because every time they threw him the football, he was gaining 52 yards. I mean, Josh Manning was the highest ranked receiver they had, and he's the only one who didn't catch a pass in that freshman class. So you just play the guys that, the answer to why is this guy playing is always because the coach thinks. The coach who, by the way, had $6.5 million a year riding on this, and I assume would like to make that next year. Like, he's going to play the guys that he thinks give him a chance to win. But I remember asking Drink early in the year, like, are you getting these young guys as much opportunity as you'd want? Because you got through South Dakota and Middle Tennessee and even Memphis, and you weren't really in blowouts where you could play them and all that. And he said, we've got guys that are going to come later. He said, we like where they're at. We're bringing them along just because they're not there now. And you saw Brett Norfleet take over the starting tight end job. You saw Marquise Johnson make some plays. And, you saw Marvin Burks play. All of a sudden, you saw Philip Roche show up and start playing like week 7. So, it's hard for me to disagree with the way Eli did much of anything this year, honestly.
Yeah. We are big Brett Norfleet fans. We've coined the Norfleet as the supporters, the unofficial official supporters group of Brett Norfleet.
I like that. Somebody should do that at Furrow Field. Make that group.
Yeah, check it out. We do.
Kind of
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just moving kind of on to the Braggin Rights game. Obviously, I know it's kind of hard for people to just remember, oh, we got a basketball game tomorrow because of all the portal madness and all that, National Signing Day. But Braggin Rights is tomorrow. Mizzou coming off a pretty bad loss to Seton Hall in Kansas City. I know you kind of touched on it. It just, like in your column after the Seton Hall game, it just kind of feels like Mizzou may not have the guys this year. They've just had stretches where when Sean East isn't getting going, they've really just kind of struggled offensively. I mean, what kind of does Mizzou need to do to kind of get going on offense faster than when they're down 20 and finally start to make a comeback?
Yeah, they need. I think losing Caleb Grill when they did hurt. He seemed to be a guy who was figuring out his role, and then all of a sudden he's gone, and now everybody has new roles. I think Tamar Bates has got to play more. I think the biggest issue is I think the roles have changed for Nick Honor and Noah Carter. And I think they need those guys to be – I'm not saying they need them to be Demoy Hodge and Kobe Brown, but they need them to be a lot closer than they needed them to be last year. And I don't know if that's the role for those guys, as it's maybe they're capable. Like, look, I could say this, and Nick and Noah could combine for 60 against Illinois and off and rolling. And Nick's shooting really well. He's shooting 45%, but because of the difference in the offense, he's got more turnovers and fewer assists. Noah just seems like that classic guy that I don't know if he's quite big and strong enough to be the inside weapon, but I don't know if he's athletic enough and a good enough shooter to be the outside weapon. Like, I don't know where the ideal spot for him is. And I just watched this offense when I covered the game at KU. They are kind enough to give the media the seats up like 6 rows from the top, so you can get the all 22 view. I'm sure that's why they do it. They want us to be able to get a good view. And we were just watching that game, and I'm like, they just dribble around for 20 seconds. Like the motion and the ball movement just isn't what it was last year. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with, hey, guess what? You don't have a first-round NBA draft pick that you're running the offense around, right? I'm sure that affects everything a little bit. But my biggest concern coming out of Seton Hall was I thought this team was better defensively this year. And that was awful. Like, I think the defense was worse than the offense against Seton Hall. And that's a problem if that's going to go south. Yeah,
that's what I've noticed too, is like, it's the, they don't rotate very quickly. They don't help out to shooters very fast. And it seems like they're still like figuring it out.
They didn't do it last year either.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I said all year long, I said, I think this is a terrible defensive team because they switch everything and they just, they can't get to guys, right? I think part of it is the system that Dennis runs. And last year you had Demoy Hodge to make up for it. Like, Demoy was such a weird defender to watch. Like, I'm still not convinced he's a great defensive player, but like, he would just wreck 6 possessions a game by taking the ball away, whatever, or knocking it away, so even though he would give up some baskets, he would make up for that by making big plays. It's like the guy who either strikes out or hits the ball 540 feet, right? There was no real in between. He might not have hit 400, but he drove in a lot of runs. And so I don't think they have that guy. They're not causing as many turnovers. I'd be interested to see what would happen if they just went with what they did the last 6 minutes of the season. Put Trent Pierce out there, put Aiden Shaw out there, put Ant Robinson. Give me your 5 best athletes, press 94 feet, make the game ugly as hell, and just see if you can chaos your way into wins. Because I don't know if that was, hey, Missouri found something here, or if that was Seton Hall had an 18-point lead and relaxed and then panicked a little bit. Like, I don't know what the combination there was, but that's the best basketball I've seen Missouri play in a while, is those last 6 minutes.
Yeah, I'll go there too. I mean, what's your thoughts on, some of those younger guys, Pierce, Robinson, Butler, even Shaw, how he's kind of developed in year 2? Because obviously that is the future, and I think fans are already kind of looking ahead given what's happened this year so far.
I know it's so easy for fans to do that, right?
Yeah.
Look, okay, play the young guys. Screw this guy that got us to the tournament last year. And Noah Carter's going to start and play. Nick Honor's going to start and play. I mean, they've earned that. And now, hey, if you get in certain situations and Ant Robinson or Trent Pierce or whatever gives you a better shot, great. But Dennis Gates is not mailing this season in to think about 2025 in game 12. It's absolute. I understand fans do it, but coaches don't. Coaches don't ever quit. I mean, they could lose every game from now to the SEC tournament, and Dennis Gates will say, here's our shot. All we got to do is go win 4 or 5 or whatever the number is, so they're not just going to say, let's play for next year. Now, that said, hey, Trent Pierce finally showed us what some of the hype was about, right? In those last few minutes against Seton Hall. He hadn't done much of that. Robinson, I thought was great for a long time. Honestly, his last 2 games, I don't think he'd been very good. Like, he wasn't ready for the Kansas game, and he got beat defensively pretty good a few times against Seton Hall. Butler, I think, gives him some things, but I don't think he's a guy you could throw out there for 20 minutes. So, yeah, you want to see him, but they're 7-4, not 2-9. I mean, it's not, let's just forget all this and mortgage everything for the future time. Now, if they're sitting 12-16, cool. Last 4 games, play the kids. I'm good with that. But we're not there yet.
Yeah. What are your expectations or just predictions for the Braggin Rights game? I mean, are you going into this one expecting a bounce back, or are you kind of just expecting the same role?
I've seen this game enough to learn, don't predict this game. I would say the worst team seems to win this game more often than not. I mean, Illinois was favored last year, and Missouri played maybe the best 30 minutes of basketball I've ever seen play, and it just blew them out of the building. Going way back, I was a senior in high school in the '93 game, which was Missouri had lost by 52 at Arkansas. They had nearly lost at home, I think, to Mercer, and we're really not very good. We're down 9 with a minute left, tied it, won it in triple overtime, and didn't lose a game again until the postseason. So this weird things happen in this game, and this game turns seasons around. That's what Missouri needs it to be. Like, this is now, you can't lose this game. I mean, if you lose this game, I am completely done talking NCAA tournament with this team unless they hit some hot streak that I don't see coming. Because if you're sitting 7-5, it'd be 8-5 going into non-con, because I don't think they're losing to Central Arkansas. But if you're sitting 8-5 going into the conference season, and one of those losses is Jackson State, I don't want to hear any talk about the NCAA tournament for a while.
Yeah. And just kind of my last question on the basketball team. I mean, you touched on Tamar Bates. I think everyone would agree has been very good. Probably needs to play more. But outside of that, I mean, the transfer class has been kind of shaky. I mean, Caleb Grill got hurt. Vanover has had moments, but has also had a lot of stretches where he hasn't looked too great. Carolero has been really largely, I think, ineffective. What would you – I know Mizzou had to kind of pivot to a lot of their second targets in the portal. I mean, what kind of does that need to be something that changes in this upcoming portal season? And what kind of do you want to see from some of the other portal guys this season?
Yeah, this was always kind of a bridge year, right? And I put myself right in this group as much as anybody. After year one, I just assumed, well, I don't know, it doesn't matter what Dennis Gates has. He's going to make it work. Because like he did last year, right? I didn't think he had that talent to the team last year, and he made it work. Like, a guy from Milwaukee is winning you 2 games at the buzzer. A guy from Cleveland State is in the running for SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He turned a guy who was a 26% shooter into a 45% shooter in a first-round draft pick. So I'm like, I don't know, just roll some guys out there. He'll make them good enough. That really was my reason for picking them to make the tournament. I just said, I don't know, he'll figure it out. I compare it to the team I spend the most time watching when I'm not working, and the Chiefs. Like they just said, I don't know, Patrick will fix it. Doesn't matter who we give him, he'll fix it. And he can't fix it. Like you got to give him something. And I just think Dennis just doesn't have. He's missing, whether it's Caleb Love, whether it's Matthew Cleveland, whatever it is. He's missing another guy who can do what Kobe did in the Utah State game. Struggling a little, cool. Kobe says, give me the ball, I'm going to score 11 straight. Sean East has done that at times, but they don't have anybody else that can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the Sean East thing you reminded me too of when you said it. It's funny you notice that sometimes their offense is they just dribble around for 20 seconds. Like when you watch games on TV, I've heard at least 2 commentators question the color commentator and be like, does Sean East dribble too much? And they're like, well, it kind of has to. Like it's funny that's how that's what everyone's kind of noticing.
I mean, I looked up earlier this week. If he had enough attempts to qualify, he would lead the country in 3-point shooting. His mid-range game is ridiculous. He finishes really well. Like, he scores a lot. So I'd rather have the ball in his hands than anybody else. And to pass the ball, like, somebody has to move.
Right.
Has to get
that's
open.
What I'm saying, yeah.
And I'm not sure what these guys are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would go back to when I would hear them say that. I'm like, there's just no motion around him. Like no one's getting open. He just has to create plays for himself. Okay, we'll segue. Okay, I'm just going through the edit right now, importing a transition. The rest of our interview with Gabe, we previewed the Cotton Bowl with him, but we're going to run that portion of the interview next week, a little bit closer to the game. So hope you enjoyed part of our conversation with Gabe. For this week, again, we talked Cotton Bowl with him, previewed that game, talked about his past experiences covering bowl games. It's a great interview. Again, that'll all run next week, kind of in the build up to that game. But for now, we'll transition. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or any of the platforms, give us a 5-star rating. leave a review, whatever you got to do. And with that, keep the show rolling and continue with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. Jerseys of the week. Jersey of the week, Kenny.
It's been a while since we talked about our good friend Troy Johnston, minor leaguer for the Miami Marlins. But he's continuing his baseball season into the offseason, playing in Lidom, one of my favorite leagues down there in the Dominican Republic for the Toros del Este. Haven't had the best run in Lidom as of late. They did win the Caribbean Series in 2020. But that was 3 years ago now. So maybe Troy Johnston's late arrival could push them over the edge, get some good first base action from a guy that we have high hopes for next season.
Call him up, not Kim Ing.
Yeah, it's true. She's gone. Maybe the new person will call her up. I want him. He's got to make it to the majors. We'll have him back on maybe closer to the season to talk about because we got to talk about his year last year because he was awesome. Jersey of the week, Peyton.
My jersey of the week goes to UTSA quarterback Owen McCown, son of NFL QB Josh McCown. He, because Frank Harris was injured, started the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl for UTSA, the Roadrunners. He threw 2 picks early, but he shook it off. UTSA outscored Marshall, I believe it was 35-3 over the last 40 minutes of the game. And the Roadrunners came out with a win over the Marshall Thundering Herd, who were starting Cole Pennington, the son of Chad Pennington. So UTSA, I believe Kenny and I picked the Roadrunners in that one in our Bowl Mania. So let's go Roadrunners. Meep meep.
Meep meep. Yeah, I don't remember what Max and I put, but I think we picked Marshall.
So many
so that was
games.
unfortunate. Oh, it is so many games. Also, Marshall, the announcers were getting mad because Marshall, they put their starting running back on a pitch count, and the announcer got really mad because he was like, I get players not starting the bowl game, but either play the game or don't play the game. Because he had 90 yards in the first half, and they took him out, and then UTSA went on top. So that's my justification for why Marshall surrendered so many points. But yeah, it was the make you feel old bowl with those 2 QBs.
Load management in a bowl game. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. You either just sit out or you go balls to the wall and try to win a trophy.
Seriously. My jersey of the week, I'm actually giving it to, I'm changing it to venue of the week because a couple days ago, NBC Sports tweeted, what's the most iconic venue in all of sports? Obviously, there's been a lot of real responses. I've seen a lot of funny responses, people putting Call of Duty maps, the Fortnite map. I quote tweeted it with a park in Columbia that we used to play basketball at near Packin Tower. If you know, you know, greatest court of all time. But I wanted to do this because I wanted to ask you guys, maybe what's your favorite national sports venue? And then what's your favorite Mizzou sports venue that you went to, either to cover a game or watch one?
My favorite personally is Cinder City Park in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Actually, Altoona, Wisconsin. I've covered the Eau Claire Bears there. It is literally just a little kids' park that the Chippewa Rivers Baseball League plays at. My honest opinion is actually you can't really beat the Rose Bowl. It's pretty iconic. I don't know. I'd have to sit and really think about that. My favorite Mizzou one is Mizzou Arena. That's not really a debate. I like Mizzou Arena more than I like Faurot Field.
I think it's hard to say that it's not the Astrodome, just with how
fair
monumental it was in the baseball world. I never actually got to go to the Astro World. I wasn't alive when it was in use, but it was called the 8th wonder of the world. AstroTurf, the roof was something that you'd never seen before. The one that I think for a lot of baseball fans and just mainly myself, it has to be Fenway. Anytime you go to Fenway, it feels like a movie. It just doesn't feel real going to Fenway Park. Felt like I was in the movie Fever Pitch. It didn't feel like I was actually there. I mean, the green is incredible. I have to say that. And then one that I've been to or covered at, it's hard to pick against Jordan O'Hare.
I knew it. I knew it.
Auburn, Alabama.
I teed that up.
Yeah, right when you said it, I
Jordan
smiled.
O'Hare either.
Jordan O'Hare.
O'Hare's the airport.
It is Jordan O'Hare, and it's great. I mean, unbelievable atmosphere. Press box is at a weird angle.
What's your favorite Mizzou one?
Mizzou one. Let's go Taylor Stadium. I don't think there's many baseball stadiums like Taylor Stadium in the sense that it is literally
Needs
just a
some
wind
work.
tunnel. Yeah,
Needs some work.
It's not an SEC stadium.
I think you people are missing the most iconic Mizzou venue, which is the Brewer Fieldhouse, home of the rec basketball games. Truly a athletic pantheon. No, my favorite Mizzou yeah, my favorite Mizzou location is the softball stadium. It's just so nice because it's brand new and they got a good setup there. And then nationally, I don't know. That's so tough. I know they're not my team, but like, I honestly loved going to Arrowhead. Like that atmosphere was just insane for a Chiefs game. Like just how loud it was. Like I thought I was going to get ear damage. And it was a game where like they were playing the Packers and Mahomes and Rodgers were both injured and it was still just absolutely rowdy. So I enjoyed Arrowhead. I'll say that one for now. I'm sure I could think of some others, but we won't dive into it. I wanted to see what's up.
I never lived in the 80s or the 90s, but every time I go to Kaufman or Arrowhead, I just figured that's what it was like. And I didn't know this was still a thing that you're allowed to smoke at stadiums, and people were doing it in the stands at Arrowhead. I just had never seen that before. And we said it to our friend Caitlin, who works for the Chiefs. Is that allowed? And she's like, yeah, people just do it.
It's crazy that you can, it's crazy that like they've preserved that kind of, atmosphere there. But yeah, anyway, wanted to ask. Next up, Fantastic Four picks. Kenny, where do we stand with the records?
Records right now, Peyton, you are still in first place at 33, 23, and 4. I'm in second place at 31, 25, and 4. And Jack, you are in third at 27, 29, and 4. First game on the docket this week is on Saturday. Bills are going to be in Los Angeles taking on the Chargers. The Bills are favored by 12 points. We're all taking the Chargers, but I'm going to say it now, and I'm going to put my foot down. Jack, if this one hits, you get half a point, and you don't get the full point.
I don't get this. We've established you can change up to when you pick. I'm sorry that you work ahead and make your graphics early, and then I have a slightly, not even all the way last second decision. I changed my mind before we started the show, before we started recording. That is in play, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, I'm still going to do the half the point. You just said that all for nothing. But the reason we're doing this 12 points is a lot. The Bills are playing a lot of good football right now. But at the same time, the Chargers fired Brandon Staley. We like to rally around the team that fired their coach to cover, not always to win, but to cover 12 points. And that's why we're taking Los Angeles here. Peyton, anything to add?
I still think the Bills will win. It goes against my instinct to pick against the Bills. I think I picked with the Bills.
Peyton has been a Bills guy.
It's paid off for me lately, but I mean, I don't know. 12 is such a gaudy number. That game against the Raiders, it's a complete anomaly. They don't even have the same coach and GM. I think they'll stay within 12. I don't think they'll win, though.
Second game on the docket, the Florida Bowl. Jaguars versus Buccaneers. Buccaneers favored by 1 point. This past week, Baker Mayfield won NFC Offensive Player of the Week. We have a Buccaneers clean sweep. This Jaguars team, it does not look the same. Trevor Lawrence. Maybe there's going to be a conversation in Jacksonville when Brady Cook is up on the draft boards in 2 years. Why are we taking the Bucs?
Baker Mayfield set like records at Lambeau Field last week. I absolutely love this narrative for him and the Buccaneers. He's a good quarterback, and I've just been off the Jaguars last couple weeks.
I think the Bucs are solid. I think they're probably going to be the NFC South champ, which isn't saying a lot, but they're decent enough to do that. Also, Trevor Lawrence may be opting out of the Florida Bowl, which says a lot about the state of college football nowadays. So I think I'll take the Bucs here. I think that's a safe bet.
Third game on the docket. The loser of this game is definitely going to be number one in the fraud rankings. Cowboys, we're going to stay in the state of Florida here, going into Miami to take on the Dolphins. Dolphins are now favored by 1 point. They was at 1.5 until today. Jack and myself are taking the Dolphins. Peyton's taking the Cowboys. Peyton, why are the Cowboys bouncing back?
Because they're still very good. They ran into a Bills team that really, really needed a win and got it. I still don't feel like that team is any worse. They just had a bad week against a very desperate team in a hostile environment. This one is, I think, very, very 50-50. I could have gone either way on this one. It wouldn't shock me if the Dolphins won at all. Mike McDaniel had that clip of him taking accountability. It fired me up. Almost had me pick the Dolphins, but I don't know. The Cowboys are really good. I think they'll bounce back. If they don't win this week, though, I think I may have to hop off the wagon.
I'm on the opposite like bandwagon right now. I feel like I've rocked with the Dolphins every time we've had them. Got to continue it. Do we know if Tyreek's playing? Is he back?
It's questionable.
Questionable. I mean, but either way, this was going to be my point. If he doesn't play, big Jalen Waddle guy, I'm expecting another good game from him. He played well against the Jets. Give me the Fins. Fins up. I don't love their fans. Their fans are kind of annoying, but you know what? Fins up.
PHANS.
Yeah. Comes down to Dolphins are really good at home. Cowboys aren't always great on the road.
It's true.
Maybe we should make this a neutral site game. Make it a little bit fair. Okay, last game on the docket. Super Bowl rematch here. None of the same players are still there, but Ravens versus 49ers in California. The 49ers are favored by 5 points. Jack and Peyton are taking the Ravens. I'm taking the 49ers solely just because the 49ers are just a juggernaut right now. I don't really see many teams. I could see the Ravens keeping it within 4 points, but at the same time, I just think the 49ers are the best team here.
I think, Peyton, we both are on the same page that we think the Niners are going to win this game, but just the spread was a little bit too big. That's the way I went with it. Like, I think the Ravens will cover this, but I do like the 49ers. I think they're going to win this game.
Yeah, there's none of the same players, but there is one of the same coaches. And the coach that won the last game is still there. This is honestly, like, the Ravens are a very quietly, very good team. Like, this is I think the best the Ravens have been in the Lamar Jackson era. I think it's better than the 14-2 year. For that reason, I think it's kind of insulting that the line is this big. I do think the 49ers are the better team. I do think they'll win this game. 5 points is a bit ridiculous. I know the home team gets the 3 points and everything, but still, I'm going to take the Ravens here.
People have been like weirdly sleeping on them, even though they've been just quietly the best team in the AFC all season. It's weird.
They've had those games too, where like the Lions, or was it against the Lions? It was like 30-6, something in that range. And then it can just be some wishy-washy or close games, and then they can just blow people out. So I think this would be a really big turning point for the Ravens right now. They would have a chance to lock up the 1 seed.
Dude.
This next weekend, they just need the Chiefs to lose.
Yeah, I've only watched them once, but they beat the shit out of the Seahawks, so I like them. They're good. Next up, Mr. East. Next segment.
I like No Cap, and he's the main bird.
Main bird of the week, Kenny.
My main bird of the week goes to Jeremiah McClellan, St. Louis kid, wide receiver, was committed to Ohio State for a long time, and on National Signing Day, flipped. He is now an Oregon Duck. Dan Lanning and Oregon are dipping their feet into Missouri a little bit here and there these last couple of years, or I guess these last 2 years. And we just had Gabe Dearmond on with us. But the more I think about it, reading his tweets, he said that it felt like this one was going to happen for a little while. A lot of people maybe Mizzou would get back to the Jeremiah McClellan sweepstakes, but Oregon was always the team.
Yeah. It's kind of. I know I used to always joke about how Jeremiah McClellan was never coming into Mizzou. Then it looked like he did for a little. At this point, I kind of don't think he ever really considered Mizzou. It just never felt like it was in the cards. But my main bird of the week, Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, just completely broke again last night. It was for like 2 hours almost, where you literally could not read any tweets. It wasn't even those your feed can't refresh. It just wouldn't give you tweets to read. I don't know how that happens. It's fixed now, but at the time of recording. But another great day on X under Elon.
Yeah, the Elon era is dead. I was tweeting last night because I was covering Alabama's ridiculous 10 p.m. game against Arizona. Did not get a single like on any one of my tweets. And at first I was confused. And then I'm like, oh, it's because no one's feed's refreshing. So thanks for that, Elon, ruining my interactions or my engagements. My main bird of the week, you knew this one was coming, boys. Could have put him in Jersey, could have put him in really any category. Let's put those backpacks on, fellas. Drew Lock is the main bird of the week. Of course, the Seattle Seahawks backup quarterback stepped in for Geno and led a game-winning drive through a dot to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Little Mizzou-Ohio State collaboration ahead of the bowl game. A little bit weird there. Love to see that. I, of course, am a Seahawks guy, so I was happy for that reason. More importantly, the Mizzou boy having his moment. He got emotional after the game. It was beautiful. We love Drew Lock. I hope he gets to start their next game. I think Gino's back healthy, but I think you got to let the Locksanity run continue on. We love you, Drew Lock. It was a beautiful game.
This is just who Drew Lock is, really. He was just kind of the entire game, and then he just breaks out 2 absolutely electric throws, just ignites everyone that was watching the game on Twitter. It was super cool, super happy for Drew Lock. Clearly meant a lot to him after the game. And I'll tell you what, man, those last 2 throws, I mean, the decision to throw that DK one was ridiculously dumb, but he had the arm talent to make it work. That JSN, I know it was a little far out in front of him, but nobody else was getting that ball if JSN wasn't. So good for Drew Lock. Super happy for him. Yeah, hopefully he gets another opportunity here soon.
Yeah, really cool to see for him to have that Gino moment, and Gino just being on the sideline, getting into it as well, is what really made it for me. He did it with
Gino.
him.
I love Gino.
Gino could be, he could be mad, could be frustrated that he's not on the field, but he's giving it to his guy and giving it to his backup. And that was probably my favorite thing I saw.
Yeah, Gino. My Twitter feed was annoying after that game. I was in absolute heaven. It was beautiful.
I got off a plane like at midnight, and that's when the game just ended. And I was like, man, I'm getting flooded with all these Drew Lock things. I just missed it, and I loved him going during the ESPN Spanish broadcast. He went and he hugged Alberto, and that was awesome to see as well.
Yeah, good note. Yeah. That was cool. It was nice. Yeah. And Seahawks in the playoff race can make the wild card. Bring that up later. Best thing you learned, Peyton.
Best thing I learned, and it becomes the best thing I learned. Oklahoma fans, boy, oh boy, what a crazy bunch they are. Cayden Green, I'm not sure if you guys heard about this. Cayden Green, he committed to Mizzou after transferring from Oklahoma. His dad, Reginald Green, owns an insurance company back in Kansas City. And Oklahoma fans, being the very, how do I put this, well-adjusted people that they are, decided to go and review bomb Reginald Green's insurance company. It sank to like 4.2 stars after it was like 4.9 or 4.8, like really high. I mean, that's messing with someone's livelihood. Like, that's really bad. Luckily, Mizzou fans and Texas fans, just a lot of people, it seemed like, did go and like review bomb him with positive reviews. So he's back up to 4.8 now. But yeah, this was insane to see. Like, I know I am a pretty emotional sports fan. I'm very petty about my fandom, but this is just ridiculous. I could not believe what I was saying.
You never take shots at family. That's just ridiculous. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago with was it Jamal Adams posting about that reporter's wife. That's just ridiculous stuff to even just think about it. I hate this. I have family that are Oklahoma fans, and I would never see them doing it. And I just never saw this from Oklahoma fan base until now, until everything didn't go their way. And that's what it kind of just shows you what kind of people they are. And that, sports fandom takes you different ways, but this is just kind of ridiculous. And Parker Thune, I just don't like that guy either.
I have no words. I have no words for him.
Yeah,
no words.
It's ridiculous.
He's
leading the charge on a lot of hate as well.
Yeah,
be thankful we have Gabe Dearmond and not guys.
Yeah, not him. Yeah, it's just petty. It's just ridiculous. It just gives fuel to the fire for Mizzou fans, puts them on a pedestal. So, well, I'm not gonna say keep doing it because again, it's just too far. But you're making Mizzou fans look a lot better. So, whatever. And yeah, you're making, like Kenny said, other Oklahoma fans who are perfectly normal fans look ridiculous. So
I'd also throw out,
way to go,
it's obviously not as important, but I mean, look at the ammo you just gave other teams you're going to have to recruit against. This is a massive thing that any other team can be like, well, look at this fan base, just stupid all around, short-sighted, dumb. I mean, luckily, I'm glad it didn't have lasting impacts on his business.
I hope Cayden Green absolutely pancakes an Oklahoma player when those two teams play this year.
David Stone.
Kenny, what'd you learn? Yeah.
Mizzou legend David Stone, future Mizzou legend too. Best thing I learned this week, staying on the national recruiting front and early signing day on Wednesday. Adam Gorney of Rivals.com tweeted, breaking news, Ryan Wingo is still apparently sleeping, so don't expect any final announcement one way or another anytime soon at 7:55 a.m. Central Time. Ryan Wingo posted at 9:57 Central Time with 4 laughing emojis. I'm up, LOL. A lot of Mizzou fans in the comments, of course, saying, good morning. Good friend Jacob Infante was one of those. Tiger Will, a lot of you guys know him, said top of the morning. Our good friend Brett Sarver, Ryan up, horns down. And didn't end up going Mizzou's way. We know that. But I thought that was a pretty fun interaction there between Adam Gorney and Ryan Wingo.
Yeah, it was funny. Hey, shout out to Ryan Wingo getting his full 8 hours in the REM cycle. I'm normally not up at 7:54 a.m. either, so I get it, you know. Got to sleep in, and then ultimately he signed with Texas, so there was literally no drama. So it was what it was. Best thing I learned, this comes courtesy of the Big Sky Conference and the Summit League, actually, is the best thing I learned, because apparently, first of all, did not know there is a Big Sky Summit Challenge, obviously similar to like the SEC ACC Challenge. They all play each other, whatever. Why I'm talking about that, you might ask. Well, that is because there is a rule in the Big Sky Summit Challenge. I will just read it. If there is a tie in points following the conclusion of all contests, the first tiebreaker will be told a margin of victory. If there is still a tie following the calculation of margin of victory, the two commissioners will compete in an arm wrestling contest at the Final Four to determine the champion. This is awesome. I think there has to be a tie. I think we need to see this arm wrestling match one way or the other. Between the Big Sky and Summit commissioners. I didn't look up who the commissioners are to maybe determine who is stronger, but I'll put the word out to Bet Online that if this happens, they should open up a line for it.
I love that there is a Big Sky Summit League challenge, and B, that they know that this is kind of a funny thing that they decide to have an arm wrestling contest if there's a tie. I love it.
I wish it was the first tiebreaker.
Yeah. I love it when the sports leagues don't take themselves too seriously. This is fun. There should be more fun things in sports. Sports are supposed to be fun.
At some high school track meets, if you tied in a relay race, sometimes they would get the throwers to do a relay race. So all the big guys that aren't, some of them are fast in their own right, but they're not sprinters. And then they race to see who the true winner is. I think that stuff is fun as well. Just get the other guys that aren't always the best for this. Like if there's a short guy in a like a 5'8" guy, make him do the jump ball. I think that's
what Fairleigh Dickinson did against Purdue to start the year. They let him jump against Zach Edey. Yeah, you're right. Or make those runners, the small runners, do the shot put. Make them do that, like
they break their arms.
Yeah, throw it like 2 feet.
I feel like I would have broken mine.
Yeah, that shit is heavy. But yeah, shout out to the Big Sky and Summit League. I very much hope we get to see this arm wrestling match between the two commissioners. Again, if so, Bet Online, put a bet down. And speaking of that, it's the end of the show, boys. This has been the Unwritten Rule presented by Bet Online. We thank them for the sponsor. Kenny, show your pillow quick to the people. I won't let Peyton tell a joke, but in honor of the Today Show. Oh, Peyton, Kenny muted Peyton. So that's Kenny's NBC pillow. We have a problem right now where Kenny has figured out how to get administrative access to the software we use to like control the show. Normally I only have it, and only I should have it because I'm the only responsible one. So if you're on the YouTube, you'll see Peyton screaming into his mic, but he's muted because Kenny muted him and he's figured out how to do that. So we'll get that adjusted. Maybe I'll change.
This comes from the Today Show. What do you give a dentist of the year? A little plaque.
Good one, Peyton. So yeah, we need to sort out some administrative things. We hope everyone enjoyed. We'll be back. We're gonna have a Christmas show for everybody, dropping on Monday, Christmas morning. So go open your presents. What better to do, like a Christmas carol around your whole family, and then the Unwritten Rule just starts playing. I can think of no better mood music for Christmas. So yeah, with that, we'll end the show. Thanks to Bet Online. This has been the Unwritten Rule. Everyone have a fun and safe holiday season. And we'll be back. We're going to have to preview the bowl game, all that stuff next week. So we will see y'all then.